Okay, our topic for today is about, did Apostle Paul abolish the Torah? So, pwede ba magturo si Apostle Pablo ng iba sa turo ng Yeshua? It's because many preachers today, you will hear the Torah is abolished. And one of them is claiming that Apostle Paul abolished the Torah. So, in our topic today, I will tell you that Paul never abolished the Torah, as some said, no? So, since Apostle Paul described himself as the apostle of Yeshua, the Messiah, it is clear that he would not have taught something contrary to the teaching of his master. Therefore, no one should interpret Apostle Paul as teaching that the Torah has been abolished. So, in those places, when it might appear that Apostle Paul is speaking against the Torah, one must seek an interpretation that is in concert with the teaching of Yeshua. Kapag nag-interpret tayo sa mga passages na turo ni Pablo, ibig sabihin, mali po yung interpretation. Okay? So, I will tell you one passage in the book of Ephesians that tells you that Apostle Paul did not abolish the Torah. So, let us read Ephesians 2:14 and 15. For he himself is our peace, who made both groups into one and broke down the barrier of the dividing wall by abolishing in his flesh the enmity, which is the law and commandments contained in ordinances, so that in he himself he might make the two into one human, thus establishing peace. So marami po ang nagkakamali sa interpretation sa passage na ito. So I'm going to discuss this. Apostle Paul mentioned about the dividing wall between the Gentiles and the Jews, because in the temple there is a dividing wall between the two groups, no? And what is the dividing wall? Not all the wall that separated the Jew and the Gentile in the court of the temple. And this is still standing in Apostle Paul's day. And the dividing wall was the enmity that Jews towards Gentile. So, ang tinutukoy ni Pablo, hindi yung literal na dividing wall na naroon sa temple para makahiwalay, ma-separate ang Jew and Gentile. Ang sinasabi ni Paul, yung enmity, yung dividing wall, yung nagdi-divide sa Jew and Gentile about their belief, sabi niya. So, it is based upon the ordinances of the sages, not upon the written Torah. Because there's no such passage in the Torah, wala tayong makikitang passage sa Torah na naghihiwalay sa Gentile at saka sa Israel. No? Because during the Exodus, kasama lang sila na lumabas sa Egypt. Okay? So the dividing walls was the so-called the enmity, no, towards the Gentile, based upon the ordinances of the sages. And what is this ordinances of the sages? Because in the oral Torah, there are more than thousands of laws written in the oral Torah. And what are the laws and contained in ordinances? It is the so-called the rabbinic doctrine. Pag sinabing rabbinic doctrine, ang tawag po dito ay ordinances. And ordinances in Greek word is the so-called dogma. Ang dogma is the word used in man-made laws or man-made teaching. That is called dogma. Dogma, hindi siya lang ibig sabihin dogmatic, no? Pag sinabing dogma, ay sarili niyang doktrina. So, or in English, ordinances. Ang nagsiseparate daw sa mga Jew and Gentile, yung rabbinic dogma according to Apostle Paul. So the dividing wall consisted of the rabbinic ordinances that prohibited the Jews from too much contact with the Gentile. Like for example, in the case of Cornelius, bawal, sabi ni Pedro, sa mga Hudyo na pumunta sa bahay ng mga Gentile. Ngunit napilitang pumunta si Pedro dahil sa tugon. Tawag sa kanya ng Holy Spirit. Dahil nga pinatawag siya ni Cornelio. At si Cornelio naman ay sinabihan na huwag mong ituring na marumi ang linis ng Diyos. Hindi siya pagkain, no? So, ang tinutukoy doon, yung mga marumi na nakita niya sa kumot, ay yung mga tao na tinuturing ng mga Jew na marumi, ito yung mga Gentile. Okay? At sinabi niya na bawal sa aming relihiyon na pumunta sa bahay ng mga hintil. Pinagbabawal. Yun ang tinatawag ng mga ordinances or rabbinic ordinances. And the only purpose is para hindi sila makakain ng mga unclean na pagkain ng mga Gentile. So in the body of Messiah, however, the division between the Jew and the Gentile was abolished according to Apostle Paul. So that both are part of God's covenant people through faith in Yeshua. Yung tinatawag na enmity or the dividing wall that separate the Jew and the Gentile was abolished by the Messiah's death. Yun ang sinasabi ng Apostle Paul sa Ephesians 2:14 and 2:15. And how did Yeshua uphold the Torah? How did Yeshua uphold? Yeshua make it clear that his teaching is not new but from the Torah of the Father. Sabi niya, I have no other teaching. My teaching is not mine, but from Him who sent me. So, ang sinasabi ni Yeshua dito sa atin, ang teaching niya ay hindi galing sa Kanya, kundi yung Torah. So ang sinasabi lang dito ni Apostle Paul sa ating tanong na si Pablo ba, tinalikuran ba niya ang Torah ng Panginoon? Sabi ni Pablo, hindi. Sabi niya, for He Himself is our peace, who made both groups into one and broke down the barrier, the dividing wall, by abolishing in His flesh the enmity, which is the law of commandments contained on ordinances, so that in He Himself, He might make the two into one new man, thus establishing peace. So maliwanag na ang inabolish dito, na sinasabi ni Pablo, yung ordinances, or the so-called dogma or man-made law. Sinasabi ni Pablo na ang Torah ay valid teaching, as the Messiah said, the Torah is not abolished. And at the same time, Apostle Paul was also saying that the Torah is valid. Ang inalis lang ay yung mga ordinances that separate the Jew and the Gentile, and the so-called man-made law or dogma. Pero hindi inabolish yung written Torah. Kaya masasabi natin si Apostle Paul, sinunod niya ang Torah, at kaya nga every Sabbath nagsasabat si Pablo, at lagi siya sa synagogue every Sabbath. Kaya mali ang nagsasabi si Pablo tumalikod sa Torah. Okay? So kung may question po ay mag-note na lang po kayo. Okay, thank you.